Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm the one, the only, the WOOKIE. And I sat here and debated after trying to clean this audio up for next to forever now, really. And there's no cleaning it. I tried to get it the best I could so that it was reasonably easy to listen to, but it just didn't really work. So I cleaned it up as best I can. I didn't know whether I should release it or not. So I came to the conclusion that I'm going to. We really have never missed a show since last year about this time. So I wanted to kind of keep that streak going. I know I normally am pretty snub-nosed when it comes to, quality, but I'm not sure what happened during this recording, what went wrong, and where everything went crazy and sideways. So hopefully we figure that out soon. I did order a new mixer. Hopefully it shows up before next cast. We'll have to wait and see because it's coming in the mail. So hopefully a new mixer solves the problem. I've been dealing with this one now. I've had it 5 years, so that's a long time to have a mixer. 5 to 7 years is normally about where you're looking at replacing. So hope you guys at least enjoy the show, and we'll catch y'all later. All right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined here, as always, by one Mr. Big Z. What's going on, Z?
Hey, Keyforge World. Just another week here with the WOOKIE. We're going to talk some Keyforge. Mainly about some variants, I think, today, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing going on in the Keyforge world, which is sad. We got a bunch of things that, I don't want to say, is it sad? Is sad the right word?
I don't know. There's all that new news about... Oh, wait. Yeah, nothing. Yeah. We still have no news about anything.
Right.
So we're not going to complain about that. We're just going to go on to talk about what we can talk about. And I think that's going to be just different variants and iterations we've seen in the Keyforge. We're going to talk about the two main ones we see at Vault right now. We see... I guess we see three. We see Archon, regular Archon. We see Sealed. And then we see Survival to some extent, much less than the other two. But that's really all we see at the Vault level.
I'm kind of wondering why we don't see more variants at the Vault level.
Well, I mean, the going answer that I seem to hear and get is Gem.
Okay.
That's Gem. Just the answer. Gem. I don't know. There's programmers on my team. There's programmers out there in the world that know kind of weird answers when they hear it from people, right? Because they understand development.
Well, my question is, so Gem can't handle. I mean, it should have zero issues with reversal, right? I mean, there's a winner.
It should have zero issues, but I think
there's a winner. Somebody won the game. Check initial done.
I think their problem with awarding OP, official play with reversal, is what deck gets the OP win. And I think that's why we haven't seen reversal in official play. That would count as a recorded win or loss. Above the store championship, which makes me wonder. I did run a store championship, and it was reversal.
Did you ever go back and look? I honestly
don't remember which deck got wins for what. I think it was the deck that technically lost was getting the wins back then.
I get that whole argument, but at the same time, the wins losses should go to the player, not the deck.
Well, that's not a recorded set. Well, it is recorded. It is not something that we can see.
Right.
I do know it's recorded. It's in their database. They do have that information. But as of right now, that's not something that we can see. That's not something we know we can see tracked anywhere. That's not one of the leaderboards.
I mean, because if that's the problem and Gem's holding a lot of it back, I don't care if my deck gets level 8 or not. I want to play the format. And maybe that's just me. My deck being a certain level, we haven't had anything that you're restricted due to your deck level. Nobody says I have to bring my level 50 Pikachu yet. And that's my basis. So
and I think they're going to eventually have that, and that might be the holdup. But I think the biggest holdup is that from Go, the development of Gem wasn't good. I mean, like there's 2.5-ish programmers on the team that I currently work on. I used to be a software consultant before I was a teacher. My brother is also a programmer. So I know what they're talking about. I know how the stuff like that does work. I know how it is getting developed. And it just sounds like the people that designed the bones of Gem were not in clear and consistent communication with the ultimate OP goals of Keyforge, which is probably causing them the most of the problems that I hear referenced based on the stuff that we keep getting told. Of course, we can't really do anything about that.
No.
But in general, if we're talking about the variants that we are seeing, that we do know Yeti is running, currently they are Archon solo, sealed solo. You get more than one deck to choose from in the beginning, but it is still considered sealed solo. I know there's some clarity issues that were cleared up on the boards this week by some people in responses. But for those in our audience that don't know, no matter how many decks you get to choose from at the beginning of the event, if you're picking one sealed deck and proceeding forward in a normal Archon format, that is all called sealed Archon solo. Sealed
solo, yeah.
That's what it's called. It does not matter how, technically you get a whole brick of 12 decks and pick one, and it would still be called sealed solo.
I wouldn't mind a sealed survival.
I mean, I think that is obviously something that the software can support.
I mean, get 5.
I was a big fan of that.
Get 5, pick 3.
And we know it exists because that is actually one of the store championship formats. You can get two deck sealed survival. It's a thing. It's a really fun thing too, and it's true survival actually.
Yeah, I mean the last 2 deck sealed survival I played in, I think is that the store champ. That might have been one of the store championships I won.
Yeah, that's a store championship only format. I won one of those, the first store championship in our region. It was hella fun. I opened 2 very comparable decks, and I ended up winning out in the end.
Now I got a question for you, and this is actually because I'm not as familiar with Gem as you are.
Yep.
Does Gem support best of 3?
Yes, it does. It is
I guess that's still a problem. I was thinking, if Gem supports best of 3, why are we not seeing adaptive?
Again, I think
right?
you can choose the variant. If you're in the Gem software and you're not choosing a sealed game and you're not choosing a chain bound, if you're just choosing a casual event, you can choose adaptive as a variant, and it will queue to 90 minutes around and everything will go fine, but no one gets official anything for that, so it doesn't really matter.
Adaptive is one I'd like to play more of. I don't play a bunch of adaptive, and just a quick, I guess, our own shout out here. If you guys are interested in adaptive, as I guess my audio is going in and out. Are you getting that on your end?
Just a little. You're mostly good.
All right, let's try that again. But if a little shout out for our stuff. Here we go.
Yeah, I did it again just there.
Yeah, it's a little strange what's going on right now. Like I've been saying for a little while now, this mixer I think is starting to die. So it might be, we're waiting on some monies to come into the account so I can get a new one. But regardless on that, sealed adaptive, or not sealed adaptive, adaptive is something I want to play with. And we do have next week, actually I think it's next week Monday, we're going to have, you got basically a few days left to sign up for both sealed adaptive and sealed adaptive, just regular adaptive and reversal.
Where can they do that? Where can they go to sign up?
You guys can find all of that on our Discord page, both houses, or I don't know what you want to call them, both, I don't know, sections are, there's a reversal league and an adaptive league, and you can find the links in there. Otherwise, you can, I believe, just head over to Channelog. I don't know how you say it, Channelog or Challenge. Either one, challenge.com. I believe it's
challenge, but you're saying it fancy, so it's challenge.
Challenge. Challenge.com /communities/Archon's Corner. And you can see both of those up in the,
right now we have 14 people signed up for our Adaptive League that's coming up. I'm signed up, so if you want to come battle out some adaptive games. Is this one deck and we stay on that? Can we show up with any deck each round? Like, tell some people about how this one's going to
So it's going to be one deck and you stay on that deck. And obviously, adaptive rules apply.
There you go.
So very simple. Reversal, obviously, again, very simple. I believe we have 14 people for that as well.
I'm checking now.
Let's see, 4, 8.
Not in this reversal because I've got some other league stuff going on.
We got Group D.
In this reversal and 14 in the adaptive. So we could use a few more in the adaptive.
Actually, we have 18.
So, yeah, swing by the corner and sign up for either reversal or adaptive.
Yeah, totally free events. This is just stuff. These are things I think both you and I kind of like, we pinpointed them and said, these at some point, both of these formats are going to be important in the future. Reversal, we think for Worlds, that's probably going to be pretty important, as we're thinking that's kind of the way Worlds is going to be run. Yeti has put a lot of time and effort into that team environment event where one is Reversal, one's just straight Archon, and then one is the short adaptive, right? Yeah, it's short.
I think they're starting to call that appraisal. So
appraisal?
I think that's the word that I've heard used around. I get it. I get how that sounds. I'm on board with it. I can get on the bandwagon for calling that appraisal. So
either way, that's
short adaptive.
That's how they're short adaptive is how they're doing it, or appraisal, whatever you want to call it. Regardless of the name, it's still the same thing. So, it's still the same
problem. Idea. For a long time, we kept saying like the name sucks, but this is what it is, and then we had to explain it. So that's if we all just agree and continue to call it appraisal, it'll get a little bit more easy to talk about in the future. So I'm on board with the appraisal train.
Hey, if we have a name, I'm good. That's fine if there's a name, but you could stop by. We probably got another 2 spots left open in each one, so stop over there. I mean, if we're going to be running these for a while, so pretty simple. 1 game a week. I don't think that's difficult to ask for anybody. I have not signed up for either yet because I wanted to leave spots open for people. But if need be, I'll throw myself into the squared circle
and get wrecked.
Yeah, I'll come get wrecked because I've put no thought into either deck. Because I just we had such a turnout last time. I think did we limit it to 16?
The other one's at 18. So I actually just joined up too, so the reversal is now at 19.
Oh no, I was saying the last one when we did reversal.
Oh yeah, we did limit it to 16, and it booked up.
It booked up immediately. It was like I was like, so we'll start it this week, and then all of a sudden I'm having to turn people away because we've got too many people. So I don't know that I kind of gave everybody a few weeks and said get ready, set, and then whatever. It is what it is.
Between those two formats, I love playing reversal, but adaptive is my favorite. I do think if the whole Vault Warrior thing pans out, we'll get to see plenty of adaptive in Vault Warrior. Right. That is day 3 for Vault Warrior, and the entire Vault Warrior Championship is supposed to be adaptive. Reversal is the tricky thing. Like Store Championship can be reversal, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that's ever run a Store Champion as a reversal. Vault reversal is an option that they can use. We have never seen it. I do think we will see at least one Vault Warrior that is reversal at some point. I don't know if we'll ever see one again. It's probably going to depend on whether that does well.
Yeah.
And then adaptive, I
Grand
don't know why.
Championships was adaptive, and then we didn't. Was it right? Was it adaptive?
What was
Grand Championships?
Grand Championship adaptive was an option that could be used. The North American one, I guess not. United States Grand Championship, our singular one.
Yeah.
was Sealed Triad, which was
Triad.
awful.
I always
was
get
excited
Triad
about it, but seeing it in practice, that is probably the worst format that I'm aware of.
Really?
So,
interesting.
I don't know. It's just because of certain house combinations and how bad they are in all three sets, honestly, you end up, if you get one of those bad house combinations that generates a relatively bad deck, and often they do, you're going to play that deck every time. And depending on how low the floor of that deck is, you auto lose.
Right.
That's one of the things that I experienced. It was real bad. So
very interesting. Yeah. I'm still interested because really the only ones I've played is Archon, Sealed. I have done Reversal events. In fact, I'm debating right now for this weekend. We have either a sealed event for some of the leaderboard stuffs.
Okay.
Or a blind sealed reversal. Which I don't know how excited I am for a blind sealed reversal.
I've bladed it a couple times. That's something that Yeti started doing recently in their side events. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if I would want anything serious, like winning-wise, to be tied to it.
Yeah, I mean, they're just doing it as a chain-bound type deal, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. But, I'm like, but even if you win, you lose. Like,
yeah.
It's
weird. It is a fun experience if you've never done it. Like, that's just one of those things I think you should just try out if you like Keyforge, because Keyforge is awesome. But I don't know if I would want to play it regularly.
I get the feeling for myself personally. I'm interested in the decks with alternate arts. So that's probably where my time will be spent. But let's get back into this. We've been talking a lot about different things. And the two most, I guess, famous types of Vault Tour we've honestly had right now is Archon and Sealed. And
we've Archon solo, nothing special, and then Sealed solo, nothing special. So that is the two most common iterations in Vaults that we see, which is most of the Premier play we see. Because Primes aren't Premier play. The only thing else that is Grands. And if you're here in the States, we only had one, no more. If you're in Europe, you get to experience a lot more Grands potentially than us, because there's like 100 of you little countries, and y'all can all travel to each other.
Very quickly.
And you each get a Grand, and, well, not good at all. So, anyway.
I don't know why we haven't had more Grands here. We just had the one, and that was it. I mean, is it per country?
I feel our country should have at least warranted 4. But then again, Europe has had no vaults. So before someone says something about us complaining about not having Grand Championships when we've had all the vaults since whatever, I feel for you. I 100% agree that for every month that we've had a vault, you all should have had a vault as well. I'm sorry. Can't fix that. It does suck. I get it.
Yeah, not our call.
Just like y'all have all the Grands, I think Keyforge would be in a much better state right now, honestly, if there were just as many vaults in Europe as there were here, and we had as many Grands. I don't know about as many because it'd be ridiculous, but we should have at least had 4, one for each major.
I was going to think one per time zone.
I don't even like time zone. The Northeast is fine. The South would warrant 1. The West Coast would warrant 1, and then the Southeast could warrant 1 easily. Or not the Southeast, but Indianapolis could have warranted 1. Those would be the major population centers of our country,
right?
And that would cover our 4 Grand. That is within a reasonable amount based on the population that we have here. We have a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the U.S. is roughly the same size as Europe. Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong.
Population-wise, there's a lot more. I think
not population-wise. I'm just talking mass-wise.
I think they're actually bigger than us too. But either way, they get. I don't know. I don't even know the number. I'm sure it's over.
You were about to give a number, weren't you?
I'm sure it's more than 8 Grand Championships, but compared to our one, where they're definitely not 8 times the population.
So Europe is a little bit larger. Wait, hold on. Yeah. They're very similar, though. I mean, you're talking about 1 million square kilometers separate. Not
they do have like twice the amount of people. So they should definitely have way more turn radius.
No, I'm not saying that like they shouldn't have more. I don't know. It's very strange, like how this whole thing, and I don't know if it was because of Yeti. Like when Yeti took, because literally, like once everything stopped, and I'm even trying to think of who was on board, who was before Yeti, and I can't even think about it. Cascade. Like one Cascade had like a list, and then there was like no information about that, and then we all assumed that like, oh, well, it kind of makes sense now because Cascade was only going to that time because obviously maybe there was a run out of contract or something, and then that's where Yeti took over, and then Yeti really is
before Yeti. Cascade wasn't running those events in Europe, so
no, they weren't. But I mean, Yeti, I don't know if Yeti really pushed for it. I don't know if they said, well, we're going to run one a month, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, is what I'm saying. So, I mean, Asmodee, I think, runs all their own stuff over in Europe, do they not?
I have no clue.
I'm almost positive they do.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as the events over there, we're still talking about the same thing. Back when they did have vaults, they were either sealed, survival, or regular Archon. I remember there being I know there was 2 of them that were survival Archon that I know of, and then everything else was either solo Archon or sealed solo.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, which is more skill testing, sealed or Archon?
This is tricky because no matter what I say, there's obviously the counter arguments from the other groups.
Sure.
So, I'm going to go ahead and point out the stuff that removes skill from both sides. So, and then I'll talk about where the skill does still lie on both sides. And I don't know if I'm going to even be able to answer that direct question of which one's more. But here I go. Things that remove skilled from sealed are, there's going to always be a certain slant of the decks that you get in your pool. At some point, a player can be eliminated regardless of their skill because of the deck pool that they have. And to some extent, I'm going to stop there and we can come back to that. So, like, you can immediately be eliminated if you do not have 3 decks or one of the 3 decks that do not have a certain threshold of success naturally for that deck to succeed. And then on the other side of things, when you have there is a direct comparison when you're talking about Archon solo. There's certain levels of decks, tiers of decks that people will be practicing, and those are going to be highly advantaged to be successful in an Archon solo environment. If you don't own any of those decks, I'm not saying it's impossible for someone who goes on a big rage, but the odds of you making day 2 without a deck that is a certain quality is highly unlikely. I'm not talking about SAS. I'm not talking about any metric. I'm talking about just certain decks that are just excessively good because the card quality on average when you play your 36 cards are just better than other decks. Mm-hmm. That's nothing. I don't care what metric you're losing. There's tons of metrics you go. There's more than just SAS. It's just when I play this card, it does X, Y, and Z versus other decks. When they play this card, it just does X, or in some cases does nothing because you're discarding Bad Penny or whatever. If you don't have a deck, at least at a certain threshold, you're already going to be eliminated. And at some point, like that is a knock-on skill because you have to have a certain quality to even be in the environment. Right. Now, going back to sealed is, like, take all the players that did pull at least one deck in their 3 that has one of them above that average threshold. This deck has enough stuff in a sealed environment to be competitive. Once you have that pool of people that have that, before you even get there, there's the skill in identifying what that is. So I think that actually does involve a lot of skill because what's a good deck in a non-sealed environment in some sets is not the same thing as what's a good deck in a sealed environment. Hence, Worlds Collide, creature control is huge. It's like In some decks, if you have to if you have really good amber control in one deck and then good amber control and creature control, these are huge decision points when you're looking at your 3 decks. If I were to take one of them to an Archon, it might not be the same one I would want to take into the sealed environment.
Right.
So there is a lot of skill going on in the selection of those, of what actually is an above average competitive deck in a sealed Worlds Collide environment or a sealed World AOA environment, which is just awful, or even a sealed Coda environment. These are all different considerations that you need to look for. So I think there's a lot of skill at that moment. And then I think the next layer of where skill comes in is you have, say, there's 150 people, then you have, 75 of them that have the above average pools from the group. There is a lot of skill in what are they doing when they're playing against each other. Do they know to look out for stuff that's common like red alert? Yeah. Do they know to look out for a natural selection? Do they know how to potentially game plan against the possible golden spiral if they see you land Rex? Do they know the things that can come up and win or lose you a game immediately in the match throughout the tournament? That's the second layer of skill. And then the first layer of skill in Archon solo is, to some extent, one of my teammates will argue real hard that there's not a real meta and it's almost impossible to predict it. In Keyforge, a couple of the other teammates are counter to that, based on some stuff that I've been talking to about Grant, and that he accurately predicted in Albany, which we talked about. He was predicting more Worlds Collide, big boards, and stuff like that on day 2, and he was correct. I think we are starting to see a more dominant what is winning more consistently to the point where it can be predicted. So that is a layer of skill that you're going to see in Archon solo that you can't really entirely gauge in sealed, because it's sealed. Other than, yes, you're going to know that there could be dinosaurs, right? Currently.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing I'll tell you about Archon is, as soon as we think oh, hey, we've kind of got a meta figured out, you see something else pop up. It's constant. I remember after Seattle, everybody in the world was looking for, nobody really knew the power of Control the Weak. I mean, a lot of people did, but there was a lot of people who still didn't really understand it. And all of a sudden now, oh wow, Control the Weak's a real powerful card. I need to hop on board with that. And then you've seen certain things kind of take off, and then certain things, and then it seems like it dies pretty quick. And then whatever happens to win the next, normally Archon Vault Tour, that's where we shift to for a little bit until something else wins.
And we saw that recently too, because there was an Infernus control deck that won Philly Archon. It was really big on the Crucible for a while, but we didn't really see it much after that. So we'll see.
Infernus is a great card. It is a
great card. I think it needs some.
It can't win you games, and I just had a deck. It's got the Infernuses, it's got the Hysterias. SAS wise looks amazing, but it doesn't have. It can't close out a game. It just delays it.
It's a different animal. I think it can win games with the right support, but the support cards are critical.
Right.
It can. If the support cards aren't there, it's really just old school Amber Crush that Brobnar had. Brobnar back then, without the right support, didn't win games either. But with the right support, they do.
Yes, watching. I don't know, and I would almost agree that predicting the meta can be very volatile.
Yeah,
trying to go to
that's. Going back to the root of the question, I think that's the first level of skill is I wouldn't say predicting the meta, because I think that's just somewhat arrogant because of the way Keyforge is. I think the first layer of skill when you're going into an Archon solo environment is just having a grasp of what the meta is and not trying to necessarily pick a deck to play in it, but understanding how your deck operates against the things you expect to see is probably the first layer of skill. Because if you think your deck is weak against X, and you see a lot of X, that's something that you're going to have to learn to play around, figure out why it's weak. Is there a way to play differently to make it not weak? And then if that's not the case, then maybe you should be looking at a different deck. And then the second layer of skill that you don't have in sealed at all is the skill of looking at a deck list. The skill had I not messed up in freaking Albany, probably would have done better. Like that's something that you don't get in sealed, other than just being able to play against certain combos really well, know what to expect against certain houses really well. The fact that you get that deck list knowledge is a huge boon. The better you are at it, the better you are retaining that information, so that you can sit there and think like, okay, I know my opponent has 7 Amber control cards. I've seen 5 of them. I know if I do this, this, and this, I can aggressively check for key. Like knowing all of that stuff in the middle of the game when your opponent does not is a huge benefit. Remembering that they have Quintrino Flux, and knowing where and how to play your creatures, whether that's going to be a benefit to you or not. Identifying graft, knowing where their creature control is coming from and what it looks like in the middle of the game is a huge skill. Like I see that constantly in this, like with the people I play with when they I showed we trade deck lists and we're just playing on the kitchen table, right? And they look at it for 2 seconds and get back to me. It's like, no, you need to look at the card. Like this is a skill, just like anything else. The more you do this, the better you get at it. You need to do the best you can every single time you do that practice, so that you get better every single time you do that practice. Because that is one of the biggest skill things in an Archon solo or any Archon environment that's not sealed.
And I could tell you firsthand that I've always said you need to spend the full 2 minutes looking at that card. Mm-hmm. The times I don't are normally the times I lose. You can actually go watch. We just finished up the One Deck Challenge. If you guys haven't watched it, I just threw it up this week, this past Tuesday. Get yourself an opportunity to win the deck if you like the deck. You can check it out. Again, that video is on YouTube. Go check it out. However, there's the game at the end where me and Daniel are both 3-1. Whoever's winning is moving on. I didn't look at Dan's deck list too hard. I lost that game. Yeah. I knew it had dinosaur. I was familiar with Square Bus, so in my mind, I didn't need to look at it too hard because I kind of knew the deck. Well, add a high roll plus me not looking at it, I probably misplayed. If I dropped my Fangtooth and then, I didn't think he was going to pull, all of his Saurians right away. But if I would have known better, I could have just left the Fangtooth, and maybe that deck's a different story at that point if I'd make different decisions. Probably not. Square Bus is a monster. Whether Dan likes to admit it or not, that deck's pretty good. But, I did take a deck that was 73 SAS, and if you look at all the decks that were above, who made top 8, which is everyone who went 4-1, all those decks were in the 80s. So I did take a deck that was, pretty much handicapped off the bat. And, did take it to 3-2, and even some of the guys who made day 2, top 8, were using much, much better decks than I was. So...
yeah, Square Bus is 82. Square Bus is a real good deck.
I thought it was 84, but either way, regardless, it's above an 80. So,
which is top 100. It's top 0%, right? It's 100% deck. Yeah. So I think those are the big skill things in Archon Solo. It's, do you understand the meta? Do you understand how your deck will play in that meta, perceived meta? And how well are you good at anticipating, reading, analyzing their deck list, and then retaining that knowledge as you play? Mm-hmm. And in the sealed environment, it is the skill of actually choosing your deck in that sealed environment, because it's different in all 3 sealed environments, because what you need is very different in all 3. And then do you understand how to play around certain anticipated things that your opponent might have that can actually swing the game? Like there's stuff that you can kind of play around, and I see people do it sometimes, but you don't actually need to because they're playing around stuff that necessarily won't win or lose them the game.
I kind of like to put sealed as you're almost playing Texas Hold'em, right? To a degree, and I'll explain that because a lot of people aren't going to understand that analogy. You're playing a game of numbers. You're playing the what ifs. And a lot of the times I've seen people decide to throttle back due to a what if. And not knowing, like, what's the percentage, what's the chance my opponent has that too much to protect? Or what's the logos one? I want to say effervescent principle, interdimensional draft.
Yeah.
What are the percentages? Knowing that those cards are uncommon, what are the percentages?
If they have that house, there's a 15% chance, and any one uncommon is in there.
Right. So, I mean, you got to know, you got to make the choice of, number one, what's the percentage of the card that I'm looking for them not to play, that I don't want them to play, is actually in their deck. And number two, it also has to be at their hand right now. So you have to make that kind of informed decision to the best of what you have. I mean, if there's 10 Logos cards in their discard pile, there's a good chance they might have it in their hand, if they have it at all. I've leaned into playing sometimes because it's like, well, if you have it, you have it. There's no other way I win. And then just to find out, well, no, they never even had it in the deck, so I made the right choice.
Yeah. I mean, the big ones right now for Worlds Collide, I see people like lose to or play into. They probably shouldn't have in Sealed is Red Alert and Unnatural Selection. They're both commons. They're both highly sought after in a sealed environment by a skilled player. And they both can be played around. So those are the two that I see create the biggest game-winning swings. Because, like, Red Alert can be a one-sided board wipe. And Sealed, that's often enough to win you the game through reaping out the rest of the game. Unnatural Selection can be nearly just as devastating if you end up with 3 creatures left that aren't in the same house. So, I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff happen.
Or I just played a game last night where you play Unnatural Selection and you don't have any critters on the board, and you just dumped your hand full of Logos.
Yeah.
You can basically say bye-bye to your Eddies because I made those go. Those are definitely dying. It's just certain things like that where, you got to pay attention. In your experience, what do you think is better? We're going to kind of make this a quicker episode this week, only due to the fact that my children have strep, and there's just not a lot going on. But I get this. What do you enjoy better? Do you enjoy Archon better or Sealed better?
And I have to choose just the solo variant.
Yeah, just from what we've seen, because that's really all we've had is Archon solo.
Everyone knows I love survival, so I would obviously choose that. But
I love survival too. I'll play survival every day of the week.
So, but the majority, what you're talking about, the majority of what we see is Archon solo or Sealed solo.
Right.
If I absolutely have to choose one of those, I honestly do prefer Sealed solo. I think it's more engaging. I think it's more fun. To me, Archon solo is super boring in a way. Like, I love to play the game. I think some of the nuance of what's great about Keyforge is somewhat lost on Archon solo. Because, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be playing a deck I've played for 50 times. I'm going to know its strengths. I'm going to know its weaknesses. I'm going to know what's a bad matchup for it. And then it really becomes more about matchups.
Yeah.
Which is generally what has happened to me in almost every Archon solo that I've attended, except for, I guess, Philly Archon solo. I had a misplay real early, and that's probably why I lost one of my 2 games.
I mean, I feel like we're at the point now.
The other one was pure matchup. Like, I could have played that guy 90 more times and probably maybe won one. Because his deck was just going to beat mine. Like that's, I don't know. It's not like a paper rock scissors thing, but there are definitely matchups in Keyforge. When you look at the two deck lists, one of the decks should win a high majority of the time, assuming equal piloting.
I'm kind of at the point now where, for a lot of, I don't know, maybe not everybody agrees with me, but a lot of people now, it's just there's not a lot of I've had misplays and I've noticed them. I mean, normally when I'm misplaying, it's on TCO, or on, random chain bound events where I'm just not paying as much attention as I am in a vault. But I feel like at a vault, there's not a lot of misplays going on. Is that
there was quite a few in the sealed vault in Dallas. I think that was because we had a lot of less seasoned players, I guess, which is good. I love to see that. But it was obvious there were some nerves going on.
Yeah.
The top 8 up, other than George and Nathan, had a lot of nerves from multiple players in the top 8 at Dallas. And that's just because you're in the top 8. For a lot of them, it was a very new experience, and that happens. But I don't see that many, huge mistake. Actually, even Nathan made a mistake. That's why I lost the game. But anyway, I didn't see a lot of I fought into elusive stuff. If that's what you're talking about.
I'm saying I killed this creature instead of this creature. Not even I fought into an elusive. It's oh man, I killed a Igor instead of an Eddie.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah, actually, I think that happens quite a bit.
Do you? Yeah. Maybe I'm not seeing it as much as you are. Yeah. I mean, you go to a lot more vaults than me, so you would be better suited to see it. I watch what I can.
That kind of stuff I see a lot. I am starting to see the Yeti is doing a good job about being very clear of what to expect. As far as the way that their players are announcing what they're doing in their actions, drawing their cards one at a time. So that has reduced a lot of the old mistakes that we saw constantly. But I am seeing a lot of the I probably should have killed that creature, or I did this out of order. If I had done this in this order, it would have been better. Yeah, that's still there. That's still there quite a bit. The misplays I was talking about were the worst level misplays. I fought an elusive creature, only one creature on the board that can fight. I did see that in the top 8 and up. I did see that level of error. And that's because of nerves. But the stuff that you were talking about, I think that is somewhat common and probably happens almost every game.
Yeah,
to some extent.
But that's Archon. For sealed, I'm a big fan of sealed. You're literally rolling the dice when you play sealed, and I think that's something you need to understand. I know a lot of people say, "Well, sealed takes all the skill out of it." Well, does it? Or it does to a degree. If you're handed 3 junk decks, again, you can go watch a video on our YouTube channel at a prime where I just get handed junk. I got no chance. It just is what it is. You have to accept that sometimes you are just going to get junk. But then sometimes you're going to get good stuff. Good.
I think because of the average in general quality of the decks in Worlds Collide, it is a little harder to just get a deck that you think you're going to get super crushed if you're not a skilled player. With Worlds Collide, I do enjoy sealed more than just solo Archon. So just because I do like the excitement of playing with a deck I've never played before, trying to anticipate which of the 3 decks that I get are going to be the better option, and then playing around my opponent's deck, which I don't know what it is. Honestly, I wish there was a I gave someone crap about adding more variants we don't need anyway. Now I'm about to say one. I think it would be a pretty fun experience to play an Archon event where you brought your deck and then don't show them the deck list. That would be cool. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see that.
That'd be interesting. I don't know if that'd be cool. That'd be interesting.
I mean, it's fair. Both of you don't know. Like, that would somewhat diminish the likelihood people bring famous decks. Like, I have 3 decks that a ton of people know the name of. So, like, maybe I don't bring those 3 decks because I'm automatically giving them, hey, my wife's deck has 4 routine jobs, and people have seen her. It's been played on stream multiple times.
Right.
Like, my son owns Echo Gamer, and it was literally world famous for a while. So, like, maybe we don't people stop bringing decks that they know, like everyone knows. One of my teammates has Pink Fraud, who's won 2 Vault Tours. Reapouts George has Gasoline, which is also won 2 Vault Tours. Like, if you bring that deck, like, hey, you have Western Gunter's Control Week in LA. Like, maybe that stops popping up as much if we don't get to see their deck list. Like, I don't know. It would be an interesting thing to see toyed with.
I'd be interested, but only for the social experiment, I guess, of it all. Because I don't know. I don't think that's. I mean, I guess because I know it's in Gasolina. Yeah, I know it's in Echo Gamer. Yeah, I know it's in Pink Fraud. I understand those decks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like to be like, well, I'm going to bring something totally new. It's like, would you? Like, even if I don't get to see the deck list, would you bring something new? You know, these decks are good. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting fact. I like sealed mainly due to the fact of it's like a scratch off ticket. You have a shot every single time. You could pull that monster. And if you're a good player, you can pilot it pretty high. And you could pull nothing. And if you're a good player, you could probably still pilot it very high. You're always going to get that shot. Worlds Collide definitely has marginalized that gap that we used to feel in Coda and AOA, which were heavy pains and very heartbreaking at times.
AOA was too rough. I couldn't play sealed AOA anymore because when you play sealed AOA, it's most of the decks were just not competitive. So whoever got a mildly competitive deck just wins, and everyone else just gets crushed, like stomped on hard.
And Coda was I don't want to say it wasn't the same because Coda was very competitive, but Coda produced some not good stuff as well. And again, if it was marginally better, that margin from Coda from middle to good was so big that it kind of hurt.
In sealed, I didn't see, I never saw a super nuts deck win a sealed environment with Coda. I don't know, I think because the rate, your percentage chance of pulling one Shadows deck was fairly good out of 3 decks.
Right.
You truly were disadvantaged, though, in Coda if you did pull 3 decks in the Met Shadows. That. Right. That sucked. Luckily, that was never one of my experiences with sealed Coda. But if
I'm sure it happened to somebody.
No Shadows. I mean, it's math. Someone definitely had that happen to them. But that would be super hard. It was very evident in almost all through Coda that, except for the true gems and rarities out there, and they exist, so don't yell at me that there aren't Coda decks that aren't good without Shadows, because there are a ton.
Yeah, no,
I have 2 of them. But the most normalized version of good Keyforge deck came from Shadows being the base of your deck in Coda, and then the other 2 houses. There's obviously this was super good too. Untamed was super good. Logos was super good, and that was Shadows one of those, and then the third one could actually be very, very different across the board. Generally, you had Shadows, one of those 3 houses, and then the third one was just something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I do just enjoy it because I love spinning the wheel. I do. Sorry. If you don't like spinning the wheel, then maybe you're not in the same house as me, but I love spinning the wheel. I'm actually kind of excited that... I'm kind of excited that... what is it? Adepticon. It's I'm drawing a blank of what the next Vault Tour is. Adepticon's going to be sealed. I'm pretty pumped for it because, again, I don't get to go to as many as you, so I'm pumped for any Vault Tour. But
so you're going? I actually didn't realize you were going
to Adepticon. Yeah, dude, I could drive home and back if I really needed to.
Well, that's cool.
I mean, Schaumburg's about 2 hours away from me, so it's not incredibly far. I was actually just about to talk to you, be like, hey, do you guys have room in your... I got to figure out what's going on with the wifey, if she's coming down or not. I know she wants to, but I don't know if she's actually going to. It depends on a lot, but we'll talk about Adepticon off air here in a little bit. But get the decks in if you guys are looking to join either the adaptive or the reversal. You guys now know where you can do that. Head over to the Discord, join the Discord, and you can find the links on both of those right in our Discord channel. Otherwise, challenge.com/community/Archons Corner is where you can find both of those guys. Make sure you check out both of the new recent videos that we just put out. We got the One Deck Challenge finally coming to an end. You guys can go over there and submit to win that deck. Hopefully I have my big wheel in time. I don't know if I will or not, but we'll find out. And then we have the Grays Lake Prime, which is also available over there. You guys can check. You can watch me get smashed, basically, if you're into that sort of thing, I guess. But tons of stuff over there as I continue to kind of work on it. As I said, new M50s in. You guys can check out over on our Twitch page. We got Jupiter and Big J going on every Thursday. And then Sundays we have... It's Grant and Eric, right? I always forget. I'm like, it's Grant and Eric, and I know it's Grant and Eric, but I always draw a blank when we get to them. And then,
old man.
Yeah, and then on Tuesdays, I'm working on kind of a project right now. It didn't go so well last week because Twitch sucks for some reason. I couldn't put it in the Keyforge category, so when I started streaming, it made me put it into special events. I have now since fixed that problem. So my night for Chainbound is Tuesday, and I am streaming those basically now. I figured out a way to stream them to Twitch from my phone, and I think I fixed the problem that I started with. So if all goes well, I mean, they're still going to be there every Tuesday, but hopefully I can get them under the proper category now, is my hope in that. And we're going to be doing some more giveaways. I got a ton of stuff that I want to just get to people who can actually use it, as opposed to me just hoarding it all over here and going, what am I going to do with it? And then on a weekly basis, hearing my wife going, when are you going to get rid of that shit? So as much as she loves Keyforge, she hates clutter.
People love free crap. So.
Everybody loves free stuff. Like I said, as much as my wife loves playing Keyforge, but she hates clutter. So we clearly see which one won. So we're going to be doing a ton of giveaways. Make sure you're over on all those different channels. And even here, to make sure that you guys have the best opportunity to get some giveaways. I have some ideas. I'm just waiting on Amazon to drop them at my front door. So yell at Amazon, not me. I'm kidding. They'll be here eventually. Anything else before we get out of here?
Just keep forging keys, playing games. Actually, I guess I did post something. Like, I know I have a store that people can buy decks from, although I am trying to sell my store. So because I don't have time for that right now, it makes like $200 a week. But yeah, so if you want to email me at zarathustro5@gmail.com, if you're interested in purchasing a 1,200 deck Keyforge store with a ton of extra crap, shoot me an email and we can have a conversation, because I would rather just play Keyforge and I don't need the money. So let me know.
Go over, make sure you guys are following Grant. I believe his Twitter is @GrantTitus. You can follow. I should probably get everybody's Twitter stuff together, because I'm thinking you can follow Jupiter, but I don't remember his Twitter. I think it's just @FifthPlanetKF.
Probably.
Foolish Big J @FoolishBigJ. Eric over at Justice Blinded. Z has a Twitter, but he doesn't use it. But you can tweet at him. It's at really? Yeah. You can. You don't know you have a Twitter? A tweeter.
I'm pretty sure I have one. I have no idea what it is, or how to log into it, or how to send a twit. So I don't know.
How to send a twit?
That's right.
Yep. All right. You heard me.
You heard me. You heard it, bro.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Oh, there's lots of Big Z's. Never mind. I know you have a Twitter. I've seen you, but I think you sent like one tweet, and you're like, I'm all set. But you can also follow. You can also follow us over at Archon's Corner on all your major platforms. Von's doing some awesome stuff. She put up the Valentine's Day stuff. So if you missed out on that, shame on you.
Yeah,
because those were fabulous.
Good stuff. I sent one to my wife.
Yeah, those were fabulous. They were awesome. I think I saved all of them and might be handing them out next year to the kids at my children's school. Not from me, from the children. But I was like, wow, these are amazing. So we'll see y'all next week, guys. Take care.